All right, this is volume 2 of our series on Jill Biden's dissertation. We're trying to read the thing and determine, is it a good dissertation? And should we really call her Dr. Biden? Well, we can't answer that question right now. We only just started. So if you want to watch volume 1, I'll put a link in the description below. But we have learned a few things here so far. I did talk about her research methodology just briefly, showed you what was all involved in her research, and not much, okay? This project was basically chosen to be easy. It's pretty clear that she was really just trying to do something so that she could get this degree so that she could be called doctor or maybe advance her career. And this is the thing that really bothers me the most about this, and that is, one, she has an English degree, and it's not showing up here. Now, it could be that her focus in English is on literature, and that her writing is really aimed at literature. The trouble I have is that I'm not seeing evidence of that either. This is her dissertation. There were plenty of opportunities here to turn a phrase, to make this thing come alive, and she never bothered to. This is a very dull read. She took no interest whatsoever in this project. And that is what really comes out the most to me is this looks like a term paper written by a student who just wants to get through the semester. And that's unfortunate. The dissertation should be something that you're proud of. It's something that you should reflect and hope that your friends stumble on and read it and go, wow, this was really well done. The impression I get from this is she wrote it, she got her doctorate, and basically it's been discarded. She really doesn't care about this research at all. Yeah, if you're going to read this looking for clever turns of phrases, interesting figurative language, hooks, forget it. She doesn't do any of it. She tries to write this thing as a straight technical paper. The trouble is that she's not very good at writing technical papers. In fact, I'll go a little bit further and say she's pretty bad at it. Okay, but at any rate, that's enough hammering on her. Hello out there. I am trying to get through.
With his powerful brainwaves cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnny Walker Dread to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's the Johnny Walker Dread Show.
And now, as I said before, this is not a personal issue here. We're not reading this to make fun of her intellect. I mean, she may be the smartest person in the world. It doesn't matter. What this is about is her work. Did she put in the effort to produce a quality dissertation? To be clear, she seems like a nice person. I've never met her. I can't claim anything about her. So this is not about her. This is about her writing and her research. And as I said before in volume 1, this is not a research doctorate. This is really more of a guide for the college that she's studying to improve their processes. Unfortunately, nothing that she does here is really going to be helpful to that college. And I'll explain why when we get to that part of the methodology. Oh, and before we start, let's review what we've learned so far. Remember, I'm casting these videos as sort of a "Don't Let This Happen to You" series. In other words, how can I learn from Jill Biden's mistakes, and she makes a lot of them, on how to write a better term paper, dissertation, thesis, and so on. And we've learned one thing so far, and that is don't fall for marketing speak. When you find marketing literature produced by, for example, your college, you cannot cast that as factual. You have to make it clear to your audience that these words that are being used here, the crowing and the bragging, that's not me talking. That is a claim by the university or whatever entity you're talking about that can't be taken at face value. Unfortunately, she violates that in her dissertation by quoting from the catalog certain features of the college that can't be substantiated. So there was lesson number 1, and we're going to learn a few more here this time around. So let's go ahead and start off here with the first sentence that we're going to talk about. It begins, for example, as healthcare needs become more critical, Delaware Tech plans to respond to those needs through expanding the healthcare programs currently offered. Okay, what do you mean by expanding the healthcare programs? Are you talking about doubling the staff, doubling the number of services, doubling the number of facilities? What do you mean by that? She doesn't explain. Again, she just got this from some marketing material and didn't explore that at all. But it could be very important what she means by expanding the healthcare programs. But that's a minor issue. This shows up all over the place, so I'm not going to pick on that too much. Let's read on. The Corporate and Community Program Division answers the needs of many corporations in the community, such as DuPont, General Motors, Avon, Amtrak, and others, by giving seminars, offering instruction, and supplying training. Okay, I'm trying to figure out what the hell this means. So there's a division of the college that provides seminars and instruction and training for these companies in what? It says giving seminars on what? Offering instruction in what? So this is meaningless to me as a reader. I have no idea what this means, but again, she got this from some marketing material and just copied and pasted it in. Okay, so let's move on down here, and we're going to see a problem with her writing that shows up all the time. Namely, she doesn't know how to cite material. She doesn't know what to quote. She doesn't know what to cite or how to do it. It states, as a result, and she begins a quotation here, over 100-degree diploma and certificate programs are offered in a variety of technical areas. And she cites Delaware Tech College Catalog. You start to get the impression that her dissertation is basically, at least the introduction part, is just pulled straight from the college catalog. But at any rate, my question is why are you quoting this? Let's take the quotes out and let's see how it works. All right. As a result, over 100-degree diploma and certificate programs are offered in a variety of technical areas. And she cites the Delaware Tech College Catalog. There's nothing wrong with that. What did the quoting do? Let's put them back in and ask ourselves a question. When do you direct quote? Now, if you're trying to write a term paper or a thesis or a dissertation, you have to know the answer to this question. When do you quote somebody? Okay, there are two cases that I know of. There might be others, but the two ones that are most obvious is, one, when the statement, you want to make damn sure people don't think that you're going along with it. In other words, you want to make it clear that these are the thoughts of somebody else. I'm not saying this. So if you're going to pull a quote from Mein Kampf, you might want to put quotation marks around it so that everybody understands that this is not you talking, this is Adolf Hitler. Okay, so there's a perfect example is when you want to disown something to make sure that the reader understands you're not making a statement. The other one is, very similarly, is that when the person has cast an argument in a rather interesting way and you want to preserve that particular collection of words, maybe there's a clever metaphor or a clever analogy or just the way that the person places the words down on a paper is very poetic or something. There's something about this statement that you don't want to paraphrase, that you want to put it in your dissertation because it's interesting in some way. Then you would use quotation marks. Now, with that in mind, let's read this. As a result, over 100-degree diploma and certificate programs are offered in a variety of technical areas. You tell me what is so interesting about that sentence that we have to preserve the way that it was stated. And the answer is nothing. There's no point in direct quoting this. She should have just left the quotes off, but she's basically has learned from her students. And a lot of times this is what happens to teachers is that over a long period of time, after grading paper after paper after paper, you start to adopt their nasty habits. And students do this a lot. They know the teacher wants certain amount of quotes. Even some English teachers require them, right? I mean, you got to have 4 quotes from people. So they just quote random things in there. And then after grading all this stuff, she's picked up that habit as well. This is pretty poor technical writing here. But it gets worse. It begins that open door policy at Delaware Tech ensures that all students can pursue the American dream of attaining a college education. Again, probably pulled from the course catalog, although she doesn't cite it here, but she didn't get that on her own. She caught that somewhere. Does anybody see the problem with it? Think about it. The open door policy at Delaware Tech may be pretty damn good, but it's not going to ensure that all students can pursue the American dream of attaining a college education. No matter how good an open door policy is, it can't overcome a certain family situation that doesn't allow a student to go to college. Or how about severe cognitive defects? Severe special education, for example. There's a lot of kids who are almost in a vegetative state. They are not going to get a college education. So the American dream of attaining a college education is out of reach for a certain percentage of the population. And of course, the open door policy can't overcome a lack of student motivation. So this sentence promises too much. Be very careful of the word ensure. Ensure means guaranteed, okay? That's not happening here. Okay, so we'll skip on down. Yet, with all these services offered, the needs of the student population are underserved. Okay, where are you getting that from? That's a claim. Who are you to make that declaration? You need to cite materials here. Or, if you want to make the claim, you have to say, in my opinion. This sentence here is interesting. Actually, there's a couple. And the long-term follow-up of each cohort is very illustrative of what becomes of students in each entering class. And why she begins the quote there, I have no idea. Because if you read the next sentence, it says, our students stop out rather than drop out. Some being full-time. That's where you wanted to start the quotation mark, because when it says our students, it's being expressed from a personal perspective. Why would you begin the quotation in front of long-term follow-up of each cohort is very illustrative. Again, you quote that which you want to preserve the exact wording. There was no need for that here. She should have put the quotation mark in front of our. And of course, the problem with this is when you say our students, who's speaking? She gets her statement from the fact book, which is probably the college's fact book. And it's not clear who's making that statement. So when you're quoting something and it says our students, as an author, you really need to go in and find out who's making the claim and cite that person. Okay, another case where she quotes the damnedest things. It states, then, though, the federal government stepped in, funding a series of state universities through federal land grants. That's a factual statement. There's nothing clever about that. Why would you want to quote that directly? It doesn't make any sense. She does it all the time. Listen to this. I'll start with the very beginning of the paragraph. But after the turn of the century, the number of junior colleges started to increase. Okay? And then she directly quotes, in 1901, Joliet Junior College, Illinois, opened its doors with much fanfare as the country's self-proclaimed first independent public junior college. It's a factual type statement. Why direct quote it? Now, if this was highly contentious, in other words, there's a lot of people out there who are saying that Joliet Junior College was not the first, and the topic here is whether it really was the first, then a direct quote would make sense. But other than that, who cares? And by the way, I have a real issue with citing this. There's nothing contentious here. Nothing about that sentence is going to spur somebody to say, hey, wait a minute now. I'm not so sure about that. I wonder where she got that claim. I'd better look it up. It's a very mundane fact. Nobody's going to care about it. There's no need to actually cite the source for that. It's like citing Newton's Principia when you're citing Newton's second law. Nobody's disputing that the vector sum of all forces acting on a system is equal to its mass times its acceleration. I mean, there's no need to cite that. It's a given. In this case here, it's a given. The topic that she has chosen isn't pegged on the truthfulness of that sentence. So there's no need to cite the source for it, in my opinion. And again, she direct quotes, at the second annual meeting of the American Association of Junior Colleges in 1922, the junior college was defined as an institution offering 2 years of instruction of strictly collegiate grade. Okay, now, if you really want to direct quote this, you wouldn't direct quote that entire sentence, you would direct quote this. We'll take off the front one, and we'll put it there. Now let's read it. At the second annual meeting of the American Association of Junior Colleges, this is in 1922, the junior college was defined as, quote, an institution offering 2 years of instruction of strictly collegiate grade. Why is a direct quote okay there? It's because that is a particular string of words that you want to preserve because it's a definition. Okay? Don't quote the entire sentence. And again, I got issues with her citation. Let's go ahead and move on. Okay, here we pad our dissertation to make it longer. She's talking about the creation of the community college where she's doing this study, Delaware Tech. And she's saying that Delaware Tech was approved by House Bill 529. Frankly, who cares? But whatever. She wants to give some background into the college. But then she lists the board chairman was E. Hall Downs. Members were William A. Carter, Edward W. Cummings, William C. Kay, Clement J. Lemon, John H. Long, and Charles L. Sims. Who cares? Nobody cares about who was on the board back in 1966 when this college was created. So this is just fluff. She found it. She decides to just copy and paste that sentence into her dissertation. It makes the dissertation look a little bit longer. I get it. Now, it violates one of my fundamental rules of technical writing, and that is capital letters are bad. There's a lot of capital letters in there, E and H's and L's and C's. When you put in proper names, and capital letters make your prose look murky. All right? It's one of the reasons why we avoid acronyms, because they're mostly capital letters. So one of the rules I have in wordsmithing is I try to get capital letters out of there whenever reasonably possible. And so as she's added them in, this is pointless. Okay, we bump down here. It says, the state of Delaware is small enough that for students who are matriculating from high school to Delaware Tech, the transition should be almost effortless. A concerted effort should have occurred years ago to prepare low-achieving students for community college programs. You are not the authority to make that kind of claim. First of all, I don't see the connection between small state and matriculation agreements. I mean, is there one? Well, maybe there is, but she needed to outline that. She needed to specify what that logic is, and she didn't do it. But a concerted program should have occurred years ago. You're a graduate student in an education department. You have no business making blanket claims like that. Now, if you want to say, it is my belief that, okay, at least people now realize that you're not trying to come across as the expert. And this is one where you just scratch your head. One small change that could be made in regard to the high school English curriculum would be to switch the research paper format from MLA to APA. What? Really? Really? This is your solution? First of all, it's a blanket claim. Who are you to declare that switching to the APA format is going to boost science scores? Where's the research? Maybe it does, but if there's research backing that up, you need to cite it here. This is a claim. And she has not substantiated it. By the way, you notice I'm switching pronouns back and forth. I write better than I talk. Reading on, vocational schools should require that papers be written in a format based on science and technology. Okay, but I don't see any major gains here. Instead, the vocational school teach students to write their papers in MLA format, a format based on language and the arts. So are we saying now that the science and technology is more important than language and arts? Whoa, okay. This conversion offers a small change, but a major hurdle for students to overcome. Really? It's a major hurdle? First of all, you're making a claim that vocational schools use the MLA format. Where is the substantiation for that claim? Did you study that? How do you know that vocational schools use the MLA format? Also, how do you know that switching from MLA to APA is going to help? By the way, both are garbage. APA is a crappy format. It's designed so that people can get their name into the paragraphs. They love APA, mostly talking here about the social sciences. They love the APA because when you're citing people, you put their name into the actual paragraph, and they love to see their name in print. I come from the engineering and sciences. We use numbers because we have self-esteem. And by the way, the APA format is not the science format. It's the format used by biology and psychology. Physics and engineering do not use that format. Engineering uses IEEE. Physics uses APS, American Physical Society. And chemistry uses ACS. So it's malarkey to say that, well, if you're going to be a scientist, you must use APA format. Frankly, no, I think it sucks. Whatever the case, let's move on. And I just realized that I had not gotten to the rest of her dissertation in terms of marking it up. I've read the entire dissertation already, but I haven't marked it up here, so I forgot. So we're going to have to end it now. That's okay, though, because at least I'll be able to get this one punched out and posted tonight, and not have to wait so long. But at any rate, like my video and subscribe to my channel. And stay tuned for version 3, and stay tuned for video 3, where we're going to talk about her literature search.